A billionaire family invited a black woman to lunch just to mock her. But when she opened her briefcase, their laughter died instantly. The late afternoon sun spilled gold across the Lancaster estate, its manicured gardens gleaming like something out of a painting. The air was warm but heavy, the kind that carried whispers. A sleek black car glided up the long gravel driveway, and from it stepped Amara Williams, tall, graceful, and dressed in understated elegance. Her navy blue dress swayed gently in the breeze, her calm presence almost unsettling in its quiet confidence. From the balcony above, a pair of young voices giggled, soft, mocking, before disappearing behind lace curtains. The Lancaster family had always been masters of appearances, and today their eyes measured everything: the car, the shoes, the skin. A butler opened the grand oak doors, his polite smile failing to hide the flicker of surprise in his gaze. Inside, the marble floors glistened like ice, reflecting the gold chandelier that hung above, opulent, almost arrogant in its brilliance. Amara's heels clicked softly as she entered, each step echoing in the vast silence. She'd been told this was a business luncheon, but as she felt the weight of every watchful eye, she knew it was more than that. It wasn't just a meeting. It was a test, one she had every intention of passing. The dining hall shimmered with wealth, crystal chandeliers dripping in light, oil paintings of stern ancestors staring down from gilded frames. At the center of it all sat Margaret Lancaster, her pearls gleaming, her smile stretched just enough to be polite, never kind. "Oh, Miss Williams," she cooed, gesturing toward the empty chair beside her. Such interesting taste in fashion, so refreshingly simple. Her gaze lingered too long on Amara's modest bracelet, on her dark skin against the ivory tablecloth. Around the table, the Lancaster heirs chuckled behind raised glasses. Their voices danced with practiced civility, a chorus of condescension dressed as charm. "So, tell us," said Charles, the eldest son, swirling his wine with lazy arrogance. "You must be one of those motivational speakers, right? Or maybe an influencer?" Soft laughter rippled through the room, slicing through the air sharper than crystal. Amara met his eyes, unflinching. The corners of her lips curved into a small, knowing smile. "Something like that," she said, her tone smooth, almost serene. The laughter faltered for a heartbeat. Beneath her calm exterior, there was something steady, powerful, unreadable. The Lancasters saw only a guest. But Amara knew the table she sat at would soon belong to her. The air in the Lancaster study was thick with fading sunlight and quiet arrogance. Golden rays filtered through the tall windows, glinting off polished mahogany and the framed photographs of powerful handshakes, a shrine to the family's legacy. Richard Lancaster, silver-haired and sharp-eyed, leaned back in his leather chair, the patriarchal confidence of a man too used to control. "So, Miss Williams," he began, voice rich with practiced superiority, "we're considering a merger, something that could benefit both sides. Though I imagine our league might be a little out of reach." His chuckle was low, indulgent, the kind given to a child playing business. Amara listened silently, her hands folded neatly on her lap. Her expression was unreadable, her calm a deliberate silence that unsettled the room more than words ever could. As Richard continued explaining, he slowed his tone, simplifying concepts, profit margins, equity stakes, as if speaking to someone unfamiliar with the language of wealth. But when Amara finally spoke, her questions were surgical. "What percentage of voting rights will remain post-merger? And how do you plan to secure liquidity during the next quarter downturn?" A flicker crossed Richard's face, surprise, quickly masked. Then with a smirk, he dismissed her softly. "It's a bit complex, Miss Williams. You might not follow." For a moment, silence ruled the Lancaster study, thick, heavy, almost suffocating. The last streaks of daylight glowed against the dark wood, painting long shadows across the room as Amara Williams reached for her briefcase. Her movements were unhurried, deliberate. The faint click of metal echoed when she opened it and drew out a single folder, sealed and crisp. "Actually, Mr. Lancaster," she said softly, her voice smooth as silk but carrying a quiet authority, "I already own 51% of the company. As of this morning, the words landed like thunder in a clear sky. Richard's confident smile froze mid-curve. Across the table, Margaret's teacup slipped from her fingers, shattering on the marble floor. Charles leaned forward, eyes wide, voice cracking. That's impossible. Amara placed the documents before them. Signatures, legal seals, confirmation stamps. Williams Capital, she continued, finalized the acquisition at sunrise. I'm sure your lawyers will verify it soon enough. The family stared, pale and speechless, the empire they had built trembling beneath them. Then Amara smiled, not cruelly, but with calm grace. This luncheon, she said, closing her folder, isn't an interview. It's an introduction to your new chairwoman. The silence that followed wasn't disbelief anymore. It was defeat. The sun dipped low over the hills, washing the Lancaster estate in shades of amber and rose. The grand mansion, once so full of laughter and arrogance, now stood in stunned silence. The air was still, almost reverent, as Amara Williams walked toward the great doors, her footsteps soft against the marble, her presence radiating quiet triumph. Behind her, the Lancaster family remained frozen, their faces pale, their pride shattered, their legacy rewritten in a single afternoon. None dared to speak. Even Richard, who once spoke like a king, could find no words. Near the doorway, a young servant stood waiting, the same one who had greeted Amara kindly earlier, only to be scolded for it. Their eyes met. He gave a small, respectful nod, a gesture of silent apology and admiration. Amara returned it with a gentle smile. As she reached the sunlight, she paused, turning back one last time. Her voice was soft, but it carried through the hall like a bell. You should never underestimate a person's worth based on what you think they look like. You might be staring at the person who owns your future. And as she stepped into the fading light, the unspoken truth lingered in the air. True power doesn't shout. It simply stands tall and lets the world catch up. The evening light faded into dusk, wrapping the estate in a quiet stillness. Inside, the Lancasters sat surrounded by everything money could buy. And yet, for the first time, they felt poor. The portraits of their ancestors on the walls seemed to watch in silent judgment, the grandeur around them suddenly hollow. Their empire had not been taken by force but by grace, and that made the loss unbearable. Outside, Amara Williams stood by her car, gazing at the horizon. The last streaks of sunlight glimmered across her face, warm and golden, like a crown that needed no jewels. She breathed deeply, not in pride but in peace. She hadn't come to humiliate. She had come to remind. People often mistook kindness for weakness, humility for inferiority. But Amara had shown the opposite, that dignity, patience, and quiet confidence were the purest forms of strength. Her voice echoed softly in the narrator's tone, a truth as timeless as it was powerful. Arrogance blinds people to the truth, that greatness wears no color, and success speaks softly but unmistakably. Respect, she said, her eyes calm and certain, is the true currency of power. And with that, she left, leaving behind silence, awe, and the weight of a well-earned lesson.